So today's job is to cut some control surfaces in a bagged wing. I said I'd do some how-to stuff on composites, and we're going to start with chopping into a wing, a nice wing straight out of the bag. I have taped out where I want my control surfaces. I have marked my cut lines, so obviously my separation points from my flaps to my ailerons, and the other side I have marked hinge. Labelling the side of the hinge is very important so you don't accidentally cut through the hinge on the wrong side, because we want to leave that for obviously being a hinge. So one thing I will add is this point here and that cut point at the top are directly above each other. Not when the wing's flat down like that, but when the wing's flat relative to the chord line, that line there is perpendicular to get that to clear in the top here. Tools I am using is a multi-tool. This is like a vibrating cutter. So that vibrates. I have a wood and metal blade on it. I have another different blade here which I find is better for something we'll do later on, we'll see. EMF, safety glasses, respirator mask, important. Also a vacuum cleaner on hand for doing cleanup along the process. Because keeping things tidy through the whole process makes things a lot nicer. I'm going to put my mask on, as the rest of the world has. Safety glasses, always put safety glasses on. You only have one set of eyes, look after them. And some earmuffs. Yes, first thing I'm going to do is cut my relief slots for the end of the surfaces using this fella here. Flip over the wing. Working in the beds is really good because you can actually cut down into it, and it keeps the wing nice and flat. The top surface, what I like to do is cut down at about a 45 angle. So if you look down along this, it'll be about a 45 angle which I go in on, and I go just behind the line. So start from the root end, right at the end there I have a hard point rib here and a hard point rib here, which houses the ends of the wing tube. Next thing I do is I go vertically down to the work surface, down to the foam, and hopefully that will match up with the hinge point on the other side. This is now cutting through the foam vertically down to the hinge point. So, there we have a rib, and there we have a rib. Right, so now I'm going to have to go straight down through the rib. That's as far as I can get with that one. And I'm going to change over to this one here, because this gives me more reach. That gives a better guide. And that, for a start, is the top surface. First step, initial work. Now I'm going to change over to my beds from the other side to hold the thing nicely in place. There. Just going to hold it nicely in place. Check a weight on things. And now I'm going to score my hinge line. So for this, I have this nice little tool here, which is a old machining insert, which I've glued into a bit of aluminium, and I use as a scribing tool. Some people use old hacksaw blades or case hardened steel that doesn't wear, high-speed steel bits. Seems to work just as well. So I'm going to line up my ruler from the hinge point, and with my little slot which I've cut before. Oh, that wasn't very well lined up, was it? First thing I do is I score through the tape and just scratch the top layer of skin with a blade. This stops the bit picking up all the tape and tearing it. This kind of helps get through a bit tidier. So through that, just offset this back just a fraction to allow for the radius of the scribing tool, and then it's a matter of running this along. Don't try and do it too quickly, take your time. Nice and smooth and fluid. Scrape. You'll start seeing it come through to the Kevlar. It's not everywhere, you can see it's still black. There, start to see the Kevlar show through there. The good thing about these is you won't actually get through the Kevlar with this. Well, not in a hurry anyway. The carbon being harder allows you to scrape it away, but the Kevlar resists the cutting quite well. Vacuum. I'm just going to tidy things up. This is the root here. Scrape all the carbon away. Looks good down this end. A bit more here to scrape away. A bit more at the root to scrape away. So we've got a nice clean line without doing that. Nice clean line of Kevlar. At which point we should be able to go, and there's a control surface, look at that, hinging on that point there. So at this point, because I like to have clearance through the skin, especially with a thick skin, as soon as you open this up, that gap which you scrubbed away closes up and then it jams. So I deflect the surface a fraction and then scribe more. It widens the relief angle on that skin. You can see how much taking away. Open a bit more on the scribing tool. Not doing a very good job, I keep slipping. That's in the way. Well, this relief is quite critical. In a moment, that's widened that up quite nicely, as you can see, and given a much freer control surface. Probably pick up these bits from like an old machine shop or something that might have some old scrappy ones. Find a CNC machine shop somewhere and I'm sure they'll give you an old bit. I like the V series tips, which are these, the long skinny ones. Got some tidying work to do on that side yet, but on to the aileron. Alright, so there's a hinge cut away, but you notice now we've only got one deflection. Can't go up, you can only go down. Right, what do we do? So Bye bye. Come back. Obviously the thing stopping us going up is that it can't go past these mating faces. So we need to relief cut those. Which consists of this wee tool here. I go underneath the skin on an angle. If I show you on the end here, you'll see what I do. And I'm forming that. Right, then now there's that relief cut all the way along. So the next thing we need to do, obviously, is a cut which comes down like this to allow that to come forward into there. That bit to come forward. So, how do we do that? A lot of back clearance on that hinge now. The reason that comes into play, so we can bend this quite a way this way. And then all of a sudden, we've got this nice little guide angle, which we can use to come in here. And if I show you this, you can see we're going to have a nice little guide angle there. Now, because I can't get all the way in, as you saw before, I'm hitting the stop here. I can't go all the way in. Let's get my nice sharp knife blade and finish off that cut with a nice sharp knife blade. Choppy chop there. Bonk. Bonk. Now we have a little vacuum cleaner. Right, now a little bit of tidying up around in here. Right, now that should go into there like that. Now it's got a few steps in there, so what I do now is I grab my sanding block and just clean it and try and square up this edge a bit nicer. Give that a bit of a square up. High spot there. High spot over there. Still slightly high there. That's because there's a bit of wood there too. Then I go and on an angle, create a bit more of an angle on that lead in. Also going to try and square up this edge a little bit. Just like there, don't want to take too much away. And I'm just going to run under with that back. I'm just going to run under the edge a fraction. Just gently. Clean up that. And look at that, with a slight sticking just there. I'm just going to tidy up a little bit of thing. Oh, beautiful, look at that. So now I've got a little bit of up travel too, so if it was just purely flaps, I could probably get away with not doing that on the flap. But if I want a bit of reflex in the section, or maybe a couple of flaps with ailerons, having that little bit of up travel there is going to be nice. So yeah, we now have, and I've done this all by freehand too, so I mean if you were much tidier than I was, you'd mark all the angles out and then maybe make a jig to get the angles all correct. But yeah, so remove these bits of rubbish, and now we'll do the same with the aileron. I have cut that already. Very gently. I use a nice thick Kevlar for my hinge. So this is the stuff I use. It's about a 200 gram Kevlar tape. And a lot of people use 45 bias, but I find this Kevlar tape works just fine. So I use this tape for my hinge, which is about 200 gram weight. A lot of people will use quite fine stuff, like this here is like 100 gram. I find it falls apart, as you can see there. And if you're doing this sort of thing, unless you're really delicate and really careful, you can go through it pretty easily through doing this process. Or tear it, even just bending the control surfaces back, you can tear it. Plus, in regular use, you can also tear the hinges, which I've seen a lot of people tear Kevlar hinges. So I just go straight to the slightly heavier stuff. Even for light planes, it just makes it much easier. If I was doing like a DLG or a super light plane where I had a really thin skin, yeah, maybe I'd use this stuff. But I've hardly used this stuff, eh? I've had it for ages. Because this stuff is way better. Aileron. Freeing up. Cool, look at that. Pop. Saki saki! So you can see how my lines followed this guy, but by holding the aileron back, it's followed that angle quite nicely. A few fluffy bits. And that's going underneath. Look at that aileron. Right. Next thing I do, sand the face of this, like I said before. And we have a nice, free articulating aileron and flap. And you see if I make this level, we've hardly got a gap at all. Now I've got some mylar strips coming. I'm going to run a surface over that, so when this is deflected slightly, that gap gets closed as well. So of course on a big wing, this is easy, because I mean, it's not as fiddly, you can see things a bit easier. But if you're working on small wings, you just downsize your tools. So instead of using a big sanding block, you use a small sanding block. That will help you get in to your, say if you've got a much thinner piece you're working on, it help you get in there a bit easier. So just use appropriate sized tools for the task, and you should be sweet. Right, so I'm pretty happy with that. Some people at this point, if they really want to make a strong wing, if they haven't got the bagging process down pat and got good adhesion between the skin and the core, you might want to then lay some glass in here. You might lay glass from here all the way and up into here, just to form that trailing edge, bond the skins back together, and maybe some facing in here as well. I've seen people channel this out, so they might get a little tool again and channel some of this foam out, like I've got a channel in here, and then lay glass in there to form what's called a surface spar. But my surfaces are pretty stiff. I'm pretty happy with those for the intended purpose of this model. They're plenty stiff enough. And now you can see our clearance for up. There's our up travel, aileron, neutral. There's neutral there, up travels, and down travel as far as you want to go. So, looking on that wing, you see up, down. I'll probably clean up some of this little bit of space in here as well. There you go, it makes it a bit tidier. Last step, remove masking tape. And there you have it. Look at these nice, so once the tape's removed, the thing's even free up even further. Any tape that was binding or in the way. Yeah, nice free control surfaces, strong, not coming off. So that's how you make a nice control surface on a bagged wing. Apart from that little spot where I've slipped there. There you go. That's a nice tidy line. Next thing, so in here I have wire channels for whatever wire I want to put through. There's my wing joiner tube there, going through to that rib. Now it just needs servos. Still nice and strong. Happy days. Done. That's how you do it. If you want to see any other tips and tricks or methods for making composite stuff, anything in particular, let me know. I plan to do some more stuff over the next year, especially projects and things that I've got on, one particularly big one, and yeah, that's how you make control surfaces in the bagged wing.